AST is a Bluebeam Platinum reseller, started in 1995 as a software solution company. As well as Bluebeam software, we also look after other solutions, FM, facility management. Autodesk, we are Autodesk Silver Partner, and also looking after M-File document management. So today we have Bluebeam doing a webinar for us. We've got Luke on the line. So I'll pass over to Bluebeam to take over the webinar.
Thanks, Ty. Hi, everyone. I'm Luke. I'm an account manager here at Bluebeam Software. Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to see what's new in Review 11. We're going to cover a lot of different things. I don't want to just jump right into all the details on what's new in 11, but also show you some of the groundwork for the reasons why some of those things are the way they are. And hopefully you can get a really good sense of what is in Review. This event is going to be recorded, so that will be made available to you, and you can contact Ty for that information. But if you've got any questions, you'll notice right down here in the bottom right panel of your go-to meeting dialog, you'll be able to enter in questions, and I've got Aaron, who's joined with me here, who's going to be able to respond to some of those questions. If we don't have time to get to all the questions throughout the event today, either somebody from Bluebeam or Ty will get back with you and get the answer to the information you need. So let's actually just jump right into it. Just in regards to the agenda here, we're going to be covering a variety of things through markup enhancements, digital takeoffs, and then some really cool new stuff that came out with hyperlinking and with Bluebeam Studio projects. So let's just jump right in. As some of you might be aware, the interface of Review uses what's called a menu bar and a command bar. So as I come across the top, you'll see that my different menu options change, and my command icons change accordingly. Any of these command icons I can click on that have a drop-down arrow, and I can get to the additional items in that, as well as pinning any of these items to any of these toolbars that come loaded with Review, or creating my new customized toolbar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change profiles. So I'm going to come back up here to View and select Profiles and go from Simple here to Construction. You'll notice that my interface has changed. I now have a toolbar here across the top and another one here on the right-hand side. We really can't overstate the value of the profiles. What the profiles do is the profiles allow you to quickly customize the interface based on your workflow. So let's say I'm working on a takeoff. I want to have all my takeoff tools right there ready to go in my tool chest, but I don't necessarily need all my red lines and markup tools for doing constructability review, for example. So it's a great way to be able to optimize the interface. Another good example is when you've got a diverse workforce. You've got some users that want nothing to do with a computer. That's fine. You can make the interface as sparse as necessary just to be able to put in maybe a cloud or a call-out. But if maybe you've got some project engineers that love hyperlinking and document management, you can amp up the interface to be as loaded with those tools as necessary. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to come over to the top left and come over to, this is what's called Tab Access. In Tab Access, all these different items open up in the left, right, and bottom panels that are represented over here by these little blue handlebars. And what we're going to be able to do is we're going to use these panels throughout our time together. But all these items, that's really where we're going to do a lot of our heavy lifting. So the new features that are in 11 have been sort of tucked into these panels in different locations and have been built out accordingly. You'll notice that these really haven't changed from previous versions of Review. We like to be able to use a lot of the same iconography and symbols to be able to reference things as users are comfortable and used to them. One thing I do want to note about Bluebeam, we've been around for about 10, 11 years, and we were founded out of the aerospace industry for developing high vector content PDFs out of SolidWorks. That quickly navigated and grew into making those PDFs out of AutoCAD as well. So really our era, we began in the PDF creation era, and then that quickly moved into the markup era where we began marking up drawings and interacting with drawings. Well then, fast forward a few years after that, we discovered that we really need to be able to share and collaborate with other users. So you can think of Bluebeam as sort of being split into three primary eras: creation, markup, and collaboration. But all those eras are actually really all sort of together, in that we are consistently developing to all three of those aspects using the PDF specification. So everything we're going to cover today is going to sort of fit in one of those three categories to a certain extent. Let's just start over here with file access. I know a lot of you might be used to using file access, but I'd like to just cover it because it's got some really good foundational things that we're going to be using throughout our whole time. Over here I've got pinned folders, I've got custom categories, and a list of my recents. If I hover over my recent file, you're going to see I get a nice thumbnail of that file as well as the absolute location where that file is living. This one happens to be on my C drive. If you're working in SharePoint or ProjectWise, there is direct integration into those DMS systems in Revu. That would not be a C, but an SP or a PW accordingly. So let me actually click on one of the folders here under pinned. That's going to take me to that entire folder structure as it lives. So with one click, I don't have to go drilling down through 15 or 20 folders deep to get to my file. So I can pin all of the files that I need in one folder, pin that folder, and then select it. So it's very easy to get to my files. If I want to create a custom category, just right-click on this PDF here, and I'll select Pin, select New Category. Let's just call it AST. Select OK, and now I've got my new AST category ready to go, and I can access my files that way too. So it really kind of depends on how you want to get to your work and how you want to pin it and be able to access it, but a great way to get your files very quickly. Let me just do some more basics here on the interface. I'm going to open up a few more PDFs here, and we've got this A201 Rev1, just regular A201, and a wood door specification here. You'll notice that these are all three separate tabs. This is what we call tab navigation. I'm going to be able to switch between these PDFs very easily. This PDF right down here is a single-page document, page 1 of 1, and the paper space is 42 by 30 inches. My left mouse button is a pan, so if I click on it, I can actually pan across the drawing, whereas my center mouse wheel is a zoom. And it's a smart zoom, so it's going to zoom me into the area that I'm hovering over, which is pretty nice for being able to get around my drawing pretty quickly. But let's say, for example, we want to do a few things with this. Let's split our screen. And actually, I'm going to close this panel here to get a little bit more space. Let's split our screen, and I'm going to actually synchronize my screens by selecting Sync right down here. I'm going to bring up A201. What you'll notice is these two screens are now synced together, so I can now see this difference here in this prep dish dry storage area that's not annotated right over here on A201. So this is great for doing document comparison and side-by-sides. But let's say we wanted to bring up that spec, and we know that that spec is a different paper space. This one actually happens to be 8.5 by 11. It's an 8-page drawing, and it's in what's called scrolling pages mode. That means my center mouse wheel is no longer a zoom, but it's a scroll. So now I can scroll down the document, and Revu is going to be intuitive enough to know that I'm going to want to scroll down and look at the text rather than zoom in and out. All I have to do is hover back over my main document. I don't even have to click my mouse, and now my center mouse wheel becomes a zoom again because I'm back to that 42 by 30 inch single-page document. I can actually split my screen 16 times, which is really nice if I'm working on a large format monitor. I've got some extra room where I can bring up multiple documents and multiple PDFs. If I right-click here, I can open up a web tab, and we can access the internet right within Revu. So there's ability to access your files very quickly, access the internet, as well as connect into document management systems like SharePoint or ProjectWise. With all of those features, we sort of designed Revu to be as self-contained as possible. We like to think the fewer mouse clicks you have to do to perform any function, the better. Ultimately, mouse clicks cost money. They cost some value, so the fewer you have to do, the better. Naturally, we always see people, they'll end up watching sports down here on the in the internet browser in Revu and work on their sheets at the same time. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it for employment purposes, but it is possible with Revu. So I'm going to close out some of these panels. One more thing I want to mention, though, too, is that because these are tab navigation, you can actually detach these. So let me take my wood door spec and detach it. And let's say I'm working on a takeoff, for example, and I want to grab my measurement tools here. I can detach my measurement tools. I can put these on a secondary monitor, and I can take my wood door spec and put this on a secondary monitor, and then use my primary monitor as my main workspace on my drawing. So now I'm being really efficient. Now I'll be able to use this very effectively and maximize my screen real estate. And if I needed to, I can save this all back to my profile. Maybe I got an estimation profile that has this all broken out the way I like to do it. So when using Revu, think you've got a lot of flexibility in ways that you can build out the interface and customize it for some of the things that you need to do. All right, let's jump into some of the markup improvements that have been made and some of the aspects of that are new in 11. If you have any questions, again, feel free to enter those right down into the chat area, and Aaron will be able to respond to those as they come in. So let's do some markups on here. I'm going to zoom in here to these window mullions, and let's place a basic cloud. I'm just going to select the cloud. I'm going to drag and drop right here around this mullion, and like you probably know, I can change all the properties here on this cloud. So let's change this here to orange. Let's change the pen color here to a green. We can even bump up our line width on it. And so we're able to sort of customize this, and let's actually give it a drop the opacity so we can see that underlying content. One of the things that's new in Revu 11 is the ability to change the cloud type on it, or as I like to call it, the cloudiness. So previously there were just two types of clouds, but now you can actually bump up the line width on the cloud to make it a lot more heavy, or bump down. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually doing the line width on it. This is the size. There we go. Bump up the size on the cloud there, and also reduce the size. If you reduce it all the way down, it will just come down to a single line. So that's pretty handy. One of the other things that's also been added in is the ability to invert a cloud. So let's say, for example, I wanted to draw attention to the interior space here. I can just select invert there and invert that cloud accordingly. And let's say I could draw one on the exterior as well, creating more of a sort of donut effect on the cloud, bringing attention to a bordered area. So let's come back here to this mullion, and let's see here. Let me grab a call out. Let's place a call out here off of this, and I'm just going to say verify mullion spec, just like that. And just like we can with the cloud, we can change all the properties. So we can make this bold and italicized and increase the size on it. Let's just give it a border around there. So that looks pretty good. And let's say we have a couple other mullions we wanted to draw some attention to. So I'm going to bring my cloud back out and select the cloud here. And I'm going to show you a quick little trick. If I double-click this cloud here, it's actually going to put that cloud in a temporary reuse mode. So it's going to keep it right in the hopper there for me so I can keep placing it. So now we've got these four clouds, but obviously we like our pattern here. We like how that looks. That looks really good with our color, our border. This is new in 11. It's called a Format Painter. It's located right up here. It's also under Edit and Format Painter. And when I select this, this allows me to go through and touch additional markups to bring those same properties right over. Another option I can do is actually to click and drag, select those, and those markups that are in that are going to be copied over as well. So I can actually bring that right over to my callout and make it all match just the same using the Format Painter. So the Format Painter is new in 11, available through Edit and Format Painter. One other thing I'd like to show you is the image markup tool. This has been around for quite a few versions, but this is always a great option. What the image markup tool does is it automatically fires up a Windows Open dialog that's going to take you, that allows you to navigate to a place where you have some images. Now, something to note that these are TIFFs, JPEGs, or GIF files. These are not PDFs. So if I double-click this JPEG file, what Revu is doing is automatically converting it to the PDF specification for a markup, and it's an image. It allows me to drop it right onto the drawing. This is a fantastic way of being able to bring field information right onto the sheet set. I think I'd be remiss to not mention the Revu iPad app. It's got great integration with the iPad camera. It allows you to go into the field, take those photos, and those photos that are coming right off the iPad camera get dropped right onto the sheet set or whatever PDF you happen to be working with, maybe a commissioning report. But you've got that right there ready to go, and that's a nice option as well. That's the image markup tool. So a couple other things that we have done to the callouts, and I want to show you here. I'm going to bring this callout around. Is the callout now has the ability to dock on all four sides of the markup, of the text box, I should say. So that's nice. You can bring it around to the top there or the bottom. Something else too, and this has been around for a couple versions, but is the ability to right-click on what's called the knee and add a leader. This will let you put in a second leader onto a callout. And I'll show you again. You just right-click on the knee, or actually you can right-click anywhere on the callout itself and select Add Leader, and then you have another leader that you can place. I'm just going to push that right to the back so we can see that arrow on the front. So something else too that's in addition to those callouts is let's make a photo marker. And let's imagine we're taking some photos here in the classroom, and I could just select that and bring that down, and I'll just say number 1 right there. And typically in the past, callouts have all just been rectangular text boxes, but now there's been a couple things that we can do to it. I can select auto here, and this is a new feature at 11 that allows me to auto size the text box just by changing the corner there, and I'm actually going to give this a fill color of white, so we've got a solid background there. We just auto size the text box. We can resize it here as we need to, but I'm also going to come over and change the shape from a rectangle to a circle, and so now you've got the ability to make a circle call out. Auto size that there, and if I need to add additional knees off of this, I can right click and bring those in, bringing new attention to that photo marker there. You bring that knee right into the middle. So that's a new addition that's in 12, the ability to change that to a circle. You can also change it to a triangle representing a delta as well. So that's nice to be able to do that. And this auto sizing text box is really great. Something else I want to show you, that auto size text box also applies just to a regular text box. So if I put in here and say C-spec, just like that, and select auto size, I can auto size my text box accordingly. I know that's been heavily requested, and we were able to get that in the development of 11, so that's a nice thing to have. Okay, I want to take this all and push this all into the tool chest for us. So to do that, I'm actually going to right-click and drag and just touch all these markups at once. By doing that, I've just selected all of those, and I'm going to come over here to the subject, and you'll notice that I can change the subject on all of these at the same time because I'm now adjusting multiple properties. So let's make the fill color on all these. Let's make this a green here, and we can drop down the fill opacity so that they all match. They all look pretty clean right there. Okay, and then let's just make the font color. Let's just make it all black. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We've all put those together. Now I want to take you over to the tool chest. And the tool chest is where we take all these markups, and we're going to be able to reuse them throughout the course of our project, as well as share them with other people. To access the tool chest, you come right up here to the Tab Access drop-down and select Tool Chest. It opens up here in the left-hand panel. Let me bump up the size on these so you can see them a little bit better. But you'll see that in this recent tools, I've got a running list of these exact same markups that I've been placing. So for example, if I need to place this C-spec text box, again, I've got it ready to go and I can drop it. This markup is currently in what's called drawing mode. If I right-click, bring up the context menu, and select Properties mode, it will allow me to change it to a new markup and drop it with the exact same properties, but with new text. This is the sample right there. So now we've just placed that new markup, but it's got all the exact same properties, but I can reuse that. If this is a markup that I know I'm going to use a lot, I need to drag and drop it right up here into My Tools. That way it's there for me to use. Now you'll notice that there's a little 2 that's associated with it. If I just press the 2 on my keyboard, it's going to be right here ready to go, so I can use that very quickly. So what I would recommend is any of these recent tools, they're going to clear out every time you close Review. So I'd make sure that you take any of those tools that you use a lot, just stick them right up there into My Tools. Just remember the number that you've got associated with it, and then you can use those very, very quickly throughout your projects. So what I've done is I've actually populated here some tool sets. Got a finished carpentry, electrical, and mechanical tool set that are all color-coded. Well, one of the things I want to do is I named these tools Architect. Let's make a tool set here with them. So I'm going to select this blue cog. Well, I'm going to add in a tool set. We'll call it Architect. We'll select OK. We'll just save it right here with all the others. And now you'll see down here at the bottom, I now have a blank tool set ready to go where I can drag these down and start populating out this list. But what I want to do, let me show you a quick trick to be able to get all of these in the tool chest at once. Let's take our photo marker, and I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm just going to select out a couple of these. I'm going to right-click, come down to Add to Tool Chest, select Architect, and you'll see that they'll all populate here for me at once in that Architect tool set. And I can double-click them to change them from Drawing mode to Properties mode, so I'm ready to use them very quickly. So let's say this is a tool set that I want to be able to share with other users. It's very easy to do. all these tool sets can be saved back to the profile. So back to View and Profile. This architect tool set that we just made is now in my construction profile. So I can either save this profile here and select construction and export, and then just save it on my desktop and email it out to another review user. They can double-click it right in their email, and they'll open it up and get all of those tool sets. Or if I just want to send the tool set, click on the blue cog, export. It's going to prompt me to save it. Yes, I would like to save it. Put it right on my desktop, and same thing. Just email it right out to somebody, and you can look at it. We've got a great list of users that are consistently sending us their tool sets that we can see. We've also populated out a variety of tool sets for free for download on our website, as well as a new community forum that just got up and running that's on our website, where we've got users posting different tool sets and profiles. So it's a great way to be able to share your markups. That way you don't have to recreate them. So once you make your markups, you can just save them and reuse those with other users. One more thing I want to show you. We've created some markups here from scratch, but I want to jump in here and I want to create a markup with some existing vector content of this toilet. I'm going to come over to my snapshot, or come up to Edit and Snapshot. I'm going to select out this toilet right here. When I do so, you're going to watch my screen flash blue very quickly there. When I right-click and paste, you're going to see I now have a toilet ready to be dropped, and it's right up here in my recent tools. But I want to do a couple things to this just to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So I'm going to come over to my Properties panel. You're going to see right down here under Blend Mode, I'm going to select Darken. You're going to see that the toilet now becomes clear. Well, this is great. I can now redline with this if it was red. So let's change the color on it. Change colors. The source color is black. You change it to red. Okay, now I've got a nice, cool, clear background red toilet that I can use for any sort of redline process I need to. And I can just take the subject of it, change the subject to toilet, just like that, and take it from my recent tools, drag and drop it right into my architect tool set, and then I can show all the details on it, and I got my subject of toilet. I can come out and drop that anywhere on the drawing that I need to. Okay, so I want to jump into some takeoff work, some things that have been added here in Review 11. Again, if you have any questions, please keep entering those down here into the chat, and Aaron will be able to get to those. So let me open up here a combined sheet set. Some of the things that are new in 11 that we've seen sort of expanded on the estimation and takeoff workflow is the ability to create a navigable sheet set or a bookmark sheet set even at the takeoff stage. Now that sounds a little odd because why would you want to invest any time in a sheet set if you're maybe only getting 20 or 30% of your jobs? That means 70 to 80% of your takeoffs are just exercises and they don't turn into profitable work. Well, there are some new features in 11 that allow for quick bookmarking of sheet sets. So this is a sheet set. It came in from an architect. It's 35 pages. It's a 42 by 30 inch. And I'm going to look at my bookmarks here, and it's going to show I don't have any bookmarks. Okay, but I want to get my bookmarks on here, and I want to use the drawing number right down here to do that. Well, this sheet set was actually made out of Revit, and it's got some true type font right down here in the title block. So because of that, I can come over here to Create Bookmarks. I can select a page region. I can get the rectangle, and I can draw it right down here around the drawing number, and I can select OK. What Revu's going to do is going to automatically make my bookmarks for me based on this text right down here in the drawing number. So if I select any of these, it's going to take me right to that page. Now that was about 5 mouse clicks to get 35 bookmarks, but even if this sheet set was 200 pages, it wouldn't take me any more time. So now this is great because if I know I want to do an electrical takeoff here on E101, but I don't have any dimensions, but I know column lines 0.5 and 0.75 are on A201, I can just click A201, come up here, pull my dimension, and then come right back to E101 and work on my takeoff using that. So that's a nice way to be able to jump around a sheet set very quickly. One of the new functions that's been added in the takeoff tools is the visual search functionality. What the visual search functionality allows you to do is search for a symbol on a drawing and search for multiple instances of that symbol regardless of rotation. So let's take this duplex receptacle symbol here, for example. I'm going to come up here to the tab axis panel and select, let's go to search here. It's going to open up here in the right-hand panel. And I've got an option here for a text search or a visual search. We're going to do a visual search. I'm going to select Get Rectangle. and I'm going to zoom in real close here. And I'm going to just define a rectangle right here around this receptacle very easily. You'll notice I get a nice little thumbnail of what it's going to search for. And then we're going to talk about where it's going to search here in a moment. But for the meantime, let me talk you through the options here. I have a way to adjust my sensitivity. I'm going to set it all the way to low here because I want the most results. I can search for multiple rotations. I do want to do that. I can filter by color. I can limit by selection. If I turn this off and on, you'll notice that this gray line that was drawn right here is able to be turned off and on accordingly. Now this is a vector content PDF. That means it's got all these really high quality lines and it's not blurry at all. That again, because the sheet set was made out of Revit. Now a lot of us don't work with vector content PDFs. We end up with rasterized PDFs where we zoom in really close and it's still really blurry. Revu doesn't know if that's just a PDF of a photograph or if it's line work or if it's, you just don't know what it is. So because of that, you've got the ability to go in and refine colors and modify this histogram here to be able to turn on and off certain colors in the refined template. That way you can sharpen up your results. So we'll select limit by selection there. No need to search for markups because we don't have any markups on here. And search for fine detail is going to look for any text inside of that. So let's just run it here, and I'll talk about where we can search here while this runs. It's just going to give us an update right down here at the bottom. So actually, you know what? We're searching in the current document. I just want to search in the current page. We don't need to go through the entire document there. So where we can search in the current page. We can search through a specific selection of pages. We can select those pages out in the Thumbnails tab and then come over here and select the drop-down for those pages. We can search in all open documents, and we can also search in a folder. So imagine I had my takeoff split out into multiple pages for one sheet set. I can search for that symbol of a duplex receptacle across my entire folder structure. That way I have got a really quick and easy way to see all of those instances of something across multiple pages. So let's minimize this here. We've got 143 results found on this one document, on this one page. You'll see that some are going east and west here, left and right. Down here at the bottom, I got some going north and south. So I got my multiple rotations thing going for me. I can go through and select each of these as I'd like to be included in my count. But actually, I'm going to come up here and just select check all, and it's going to check all instances here for me. So now that they've all been checked, I'll come here to this check all drop down, and I'm going to select apply count measurement to checked. And you'll see when I back up now, we're going to have all of those instances of these duplex receptacles counted for me. So this is pretty good. We're in good shape now. But you'll notice that we've got one here that was missing. There's just a lot of content going through this receptacle right here that Revu wasn't able to pick it up. This is the same symbol as this. That's not a problem. We've added ways to be able to resume a count very easily. Let me take you down to the markups list and show you where our count's at right now. So we've got 143 here. If I just right-click on that markup and I select here resume count, I can go through and just add in counts and get a set of human eyes on this just to make sure that my count is in fact accurate. I got a couple more here that I want to add in. Okay, and I'm going to hit escape here in a moment. You're going to see our count update for us. So that looks pretty good. Got one here. Okay. So now when I hit escape, it's going to go from 143 to 147. So we were able to pick up 4 extra. We just would want to go through the document, make sure that looks good. If by chance this is one that should not have been included, I can just right-click and delete count measurement from group, and it's going to drop that one item out, and we drop down to 146. So you don't have to rely on the visual search to be 100% accurate. And the truth is it never will be. There's always going to be instances of content on sheet set that's going to prevent that visual search functionality from being 100% dead on every single time. But you can get pretty close and then go through and add and detract from a count just to dial in that number. So I'm going to come down get back here to the count measurement. I'm going to double click right here and change it from count measurement to duplex receptacles. Okay, and I'm actually going to turn on my count column and turn off my my comment column there. So we've got our count of 146. Okay, this looks pretty good. So let's do a little bit more with this. I'm going to show you what's called the formula editor. This has been rebuilt in Revu 11, which allows us to add in some formulas to this. But first of all, what I want to do is I want to give this a drop down, and I want to give it a custom column drop down that's going to allow me to change the material type of this duplex receptacle. So this area that we're working in right now, this is what's called the markups list. You can think of it as an Excel spreadsheet for markups. We're able to bring in these markups, work with different amounts of data with them, and then sort and filter all that data out and use it for our process. So right here, this is a columns dropdown. It's going to show you all of these columns come loaded with Revu. So there's quite a few that are turned off. But I also have the ability to add in my own custom columns. And to do that, I select this little blue cog here, and I come over here to custom columns. So let's add a column, and we're going to call it material. And the type of column is going to be a choice column. So let's select add, and our first item is going to be type A. We'll just call this type A duplex receptacles, and on the subject we'll type duplex receptacles. Oh, and I want to give it a numeric value here, so we'll assign a numeric value. We'll say it's $210 for a single duplex receptacle. I'm going to add in a second one. We're going to call it type B. Do duplex receptacle right here. Assign a numeric value, and we'll call it let's say $240. So now we got two options here under this material choice column. I'll just select OK so you can see what we've got. So now I'm going to just drag and drop this column right over. That again, that's new in 11 as well. The ability to reorder columns by just simply dragging and dropping the column heading itself. So when I select this drop down, I can double click and I now have a type A duplex receptacle. Well, that's pretty cool. So now I see that it's $210 for 146 units of type A. Well, let's do that formula that I was talking about and put in a subtotal column right here. To do that, back to the manage columns, I'm going to select custom columns, and I want to add in a column. The type is going to be a subtotal, and it's going to be a formula column. And the expression here, this is a new formula editor. Before, it was a lot more difficult to add in the different items that needed to be calculated, but at this one, really all you need to do is just start typing. You can really type in any letter. I'll just put in a Q there, and it's going to bring up this little wizard. This little wizard lets us pick out the variables and the computational value that we need to do. This one's going to be very easy. We're simply going to take material, so I'll select enter, times, and we want to go by count. So I can enter in again any letter, and it would just bring up this list again. So I want to do material times count and press enter. And the format is going to be a currency. We're going to do decimal places. We'll keep it in dollars there. I'm going to include it in the totals, and I'll select OK, and OK there as well. And you'll see now that we have a subtotal. I'm going to just drag and drop this right over here. We're simply doing the count of 146 times 210 to give us a subtotal of roughly $30,000 for that. Now, if I double-click this, I can change this now from type A to type B, and we know that type B is $240. So now our price just jumped up $5 grand because we had to make that change accordingly. But that's very easy to check those differences out. So something I want to bring to your attention, we were talking about the tool chest previously. Let me come back and show that to you here again. We'll actually keep putting these all in the architect tool set. But let's take this count, for example. These are duplex receptacles that are type B. I'm going to take this and right-click and add to my tool chest and add these right into my architect tool set. You'll see they're now added right here for me as duplex receptacles. Well, let me bring these back out. I'm just going to place a couple of these, and you're going to see that these now populate as a new line item. Well, of course they would, because it's a new separate count. But this time I want to change it. I'm going to double-click the check mark and change it to a green check mark right here. And I want to change the material from type B to type A. And now I want to take it and save it back to my tool chest. Add the tool chest and architect. What you'll notice now is that even when I delete out this count right there, I can come back to this tool set because these are my type Bs, or sorry, my type As, and then I can place them right on my drawing, and they're going to still bring my material with me as well. So once you make your tool set, again, the idea is you make your tool set and you save it. You can reuse it on your sheet set over and over. So we've got our red check mark is our type B, $240, and our green check mark is our type A, $210. And now we're off to the races. We're working pretty efficiently here. So let me take this and actually export it to Excel, because I know a lot of you are working in maybe some sort of specialty estimation or takeoff software that's allowing you to do your computation. Maybe you've got some elaborate Excel spreadsheets that you're using. But this is the key for connecting all that takeoff data that we're doing at the markup level and bringing it into Excel. To access it, I'm going to select Summary and CSV Summary. And CSV stands for comma separated values. It's a simple file format in which Excel can read. So I'm going to select OK, but it's going to basically break down each of those individual cells and populate that out for me right into an Excel spreadsheet. So that's pretty handy. I now have all this information ready to go in Excel. So I can be using this very quickly, and I can then start doing any of my additional subtotal work that I want to do, that I do on my Excel end that I'm used to. Again, you'll see that there is some information that might not be applicable. You can simply turn those columns on or off in Review for that information you want, and then reorder your columns accordingly. That way, when they come into Excel, it's exactly how you need it in your format. One other thing, since we're talking about exporting to Excel, I always kind of like to show this because I think this ends up saving people quite a bit of time, is the ability to export a table from content here in Excel. So you'll see I've got this Excel table right here. Now this is just a PDF. It's not really doing me a lot of good. What ultimately I want to be able to do is work with this information in an Excel format. To access that, I can come right up here to Edit and Snapshot, and I can just make a snapshot right here of this content. And by doing so, it's going to copy to my clipboard. I'm just going to go to a new blank drawing. Now, this is just a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet. I'm going to right-click and paste. This is just like we did previously with the toilet by just bringing this in as basically a markup now. So now I have this nice, large markup that really, again, isn't doing me a lot of good, but I'm going to right-click and flatten it. And now it's part of the vector content of the PDF. It's no longer a markup. So at this point, I can now take it, and if I come up to File, Export As, Excel Workbook, I can put it right on my desktop. I'll select Save right there. Review is going to fire up Excel, and then that's going to give me all of that information from that table in its own individual cells that I can work with. This is really handy for pulling information right off of a sheet set. If I need to get a power panel schedule like this example, or a door schedule, a finish schedule, hardware schedules, you can pull those right off the sheet sets and export those to Excel for use, which is a nice way to be able to do that. Now, something that comes up a lot that people ask is, well, what if I don't have vector content? What if I can't actually have searchable text inside that? Then you would need to run OCR. And OCR is optical character recognition, and OCR is available up under Document and OCR, and then Review is going to scan that document and look for any instances of text, put a layer of searchable text on there, and then that can be exported into Excel to be used. This is a big time saver. You can imagine trying to enter in all that information manually into individual cells. Okay, if there's any questions, again, please feel free to keep entering those there into the chat. I see that we've had quite a few come in, which is great. And we will be sure to get back to you because we do have quite a few coming in. We might not be able to get back to you today, but we will get back to you shortly, nonetheless. Okay, I want to jump into some basic managing hyperlinks and sheet set management work that's oriented around some of the new things that are in 11. I'm just going to close out these documents here and come back and open up this combined sheet set. This is that same sheet set we were working with. It's a 35-page document here, and it is 42 by 30. And this, again, just right off the bat came in from the architect. There's some things we need to do to it. Now, previously, we created some page bookmarks from it, which was really nice. Well, that exact same functionality works with page labels as well. Same process. I'm going to come right in here to the drawing number, come over to the left panel where I come to my thumbnails tab where I've got each of my page labels labeled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way through 35. And I'm going to select Create Page Labels, which is what we call our auto mark functionality. And I can pull them right from the bookmarks. But we're going to do it from the region. I'm going to get the rectangle, drag and drop right here, select OK, and you'll watch my page labels right over here on the left automatically populate out there for me. So this is great. We just did 35 page labels very, very quickly. Now, the page label functionality that I just showed you, in addition to the bookmark functionality, work hand in hand. You can go both ways. You can create your labels first, then your bookmarks, then your labels. So it really doesn't matter which way you go on that, but you can go both directions. So one of the new things that's new in 11 is the ability to maintain hyperlinks, whether you are extracting or combining sheet sets. Actually, this is new in 11.5. This just came out, about 2 months ago. This is really, really neat. But to do it, I got to do a little bit of setup work on it. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to select my typewriter tool, and I'm just going to type in here index. And I'm going to bump up the size, the color on it, just so we can see it real well here And we're going to basically make an index markup. It's going to be right at the bottom of the drawing that we're going to hyperlink out our index to. But what I need to do is I need to apply this markup to all of the pages. So I'm going to simply right-click Index, select Apply to All Pages. And so now when you scroll through the document, you'll see that I've just placed that index markup on every single page. So I could have 1,000 pages, and it's just that easy. I could have 35 like I did, and it's still the same amount of mouse clicks. So what I'm going to do is I want to search for the word index, but to do that, I want to flatten the sheet, flatten in that word index. So I'm going to select Flatten. And so now we're pressing that markup into the vector content of the PDF. So you'll see here, it's now pressed and burned into the document there. It's no longer a markup. So I'm going to select my text select tool, just like that. I'm going to right click. I'm going to select Search Index, and I'm going to search in the current document. Now it should give us 35 results, and it does. So right down here we got 35 results, and that's that index that we placed on each of those pages. So now I want to go through and I want to check all of these items. So I'll select Check All, and right down here from the drop-down, I'm going to select Hyperlink Checked. And what we're going to do is we want each of those index texts to hyperlink us back to the index. And to do that, we want to create a place on page 1. So I'm just going to call it Index. It's going to be a snapshot view. I'm going to select Get Rectangle. I'm going to go back to page 1, and I'm just going to drag and define this rectangle right there around the index. I'm going to select OK again, and now we've just made 35 hyperlinks that are all going to take us back to that index. So that's pretty cool. Now, just note, this is being recorded, so if you ever need to take a look at this again, this recording will be available to walk you through these steps. So now, let's say I'm on this page S0.1. I can just click on the index, and I'm back to my index. Or if I'm here on page, what is this here, S2.1. Click on the index, and I'm back to my index. Well, this is really great. Now I've got a nice indexed sheet set, except these aren't hyperlinked. I really want to be able to get to these and hyperlink these out. Well, this is where I want to show you the new functionality, where you can be able to maintain your hyperlinks whether a document sheet set is extracted or not. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to come right over here to my Thumbnails tab. I'm going to right-click, and then I'm going to select Extract Pages. What I'm going to do is my whole page range is going to be all pages, so all 35 pages. I want to extract the pages as separate files. I want to use the page label to name the files, and let's open them up after extraction. But here's the key to this. This is what we call Link Saver right down here. Update hyperlinks with relative paths. Now, I have absolutely no idea how our developers figured out how to do this. But what they're able to do is they're able to maintain those hyperlinks even within inside that sheet set. When I split that sheet set out, I'm still going to have all my index hyperlinks taking me from one document to another to another. So I'm going to select OK. And yet what you're going to see is, let's just put it right here. You're going to see I'm going to get all 35 pages open up here at the top in separate tabs. Now this is our tab navigation, all these individual pages. But here's the powerful thing. This is page 1 of 1, and I select Index. It takes me right back to page A000 of my index on a different document. So we're now on a new PDF. Back to my index, and I have all this listed out here. I'll show you the folder that we're jumping around in. It's just this one right here. So these are all the files that we're jumping to and from, primarily going back to A000 where our index is living. Now, like I mentioned before, sort of the icing on the cake would be able to link out our sheet set index. Well, we can do that. So to do that, I'm going to select Markup and Hyperlink. I'll start with A100, and I want to jump to, when I press this drop down, we're going to get all of these files here that are simply open right up here. And Revu is going to use relative paths for linking these two files together. So I'll select A100 and OK. And let's come down here and select A201. I'll just do a couple of these. You can see that this wouldn't, even though this is a quote-unquote manual process, it's still significantly less time than what we would have to spend if we had to do this in other ways. And in truth, even if I had 100 pages to do, this probably wouldn't take me all but more than maybe 15 minutes to go through and do each of these as they're open. So that's good. We've got A100 through 204 that are all hyperlinked out here. So I select that. And now you can see I'm jumping on to page A203, and then I can go back to my index. Well, I'm going to show you one more thing. So now we took apart that sheet set and we maintained our hyperlinks. I want to put it all back together and I want to maintain my hyperlinks. So to do that, I'm going to come up here to File and Combine, and I want to add open files. And this is our first one that we worked with. I'm going to take that out of the mix because that's the first one we did. But you'll see here that we have all of these single-page documents. This is all 35 of them that are listed out here that all have the index hyperlink, and then those first 4 or so, or 5, are all linked back to themselves. So we're going to show you how that works here. Now you'll notice here there's nothing listed that's saying that these are going to automatically preserve the hyperlinks. That is automatically built into the combined PDF files functionality. So I'll select OK, and it's now this new document here. So I'm going to actually close the other tabs. No need to save those there. And it's now just simply document 1 right up here. It's now a 35-page document. Now our original index works, but you'll now notice that our individual pages are now hyperlinked back out that we made when the sheet set was split. So this is a really, really cool functionality that is a massive time saver. The ability to expand and compress sheet sets and maintain hyperlinks throughout that process really allows you to do any of this sort of, you can call it almost like an accordion. You're bringing the sheet sets in and out together and keeping all of those hyperlinks together. That's what's called Link Saver. Okay, one of the last things I want to show you is new in Review 11.5. That is Studio Projects Revisioning. Now, some of you may be on SharePoint or ProjectWise, so you're using more advanced document management systems. But if you're using something more like Box or Dropbox, we've built in a solution right into Review called Bluebeam Studio Projects. And Bluebeam Studio Projects, you can think of it as a streamlined document management system that allows you to upload an unlimited number of files into the cloud and access those files by distributing a 9-digit ID. Any users can access those files. They don't have to own a seat of review. They can access those files using our free viewer view, and then yourself, let's say yourself as a licensed seat holder of review, can manage that sheet set or that project and manage the permissions accordingly. So let me show you what that looks like. It's accessible through the Studio panel, which Studio here is up at the top left. Select that, opens up right here on the right-hand side. Just simply log on here with some login credentials. Let me just do that here. Now, it's free to create an account. There's no cost for it. You can create as many accounts as you need to. And Studio does come built right into Review. And you'll see here that I've got my project here that I started called Valley College, and it's got a 9-digit ID, 351298163. So I'll just double-click that. It's going to take me right into this project. And you'll see I've got my entire folder structure all right here in the project. But what's unique about this is that I even have non-PDF files in here. So if I double-click this non-PDF file, this happens to be a JPEG, it's just going to open with my native JPEG viewer. This happens to be a Windows Live Photo Gallery as the application for opening up this document. What you'll see, though, is that I do have quite a few PDFs in here. And what's unique about projects is that there's no file storage limit. So you can upload an unlimited number of files into a Studio project. There's also no limit to the size of files. And it's all free. So you've got free, unlimited amount of storage built into Bluebeam Studio projects that you can use. And it comes with every licensed seat of review. So there's no cost for any of this. So let me come down to my sheet set here. And you'll see that I have my individual sheet set broken out. If I jump into A201, very similarly like you saw before, I've got a hyperlink here to my title sheet. That'll take me right back to A000 and open it up here for me. And as well as my index being hyperlinked out for me, that'll take me to my different pages. You'll notice that right up here at the top that I've got this little gold lock. This gold lock means that this file is in read-only status. As a result, all of my markups are grayed out here on the right-hand side. I can't change, modify, or do anything unique to this sheet set because it's not checked out. So now, if I want to make any changes to this, I would need to check this file out. Now, you'll notice in read-only status, though, my hyperlinks are still good. So I can click on RFI 103, and all of a sudden, it's going to source it here for me in a read-only status. But this is really significant. I'll tell you why. What we see a lot is we see there being 1 or 2 document controllers who will manage the entire sheet set and set up the project. Then what they'll do is they'll invite their entire field personnel to access the project on their Revu iPad app. They simply enter in the 9-digit ID, and they've got access to all the latest information, the RFIs, the submittals, the specifications, any of the changes, the sheet sets. It's all updated here by the document controllers. That way, anybody in the field on their iPad has no worries that they're going to hurt anything or mess up the hyperlinks or mess anything up or mark anything up errantly. If they need to make a change, they simply, what's called long press, which is where they hold their finger down on the tab right up at the top on their iPad. They save as a copy, they mark it up, they make their changes, and then they email that copy back to the document controller. That document controller then makes the decision, what do I want to do with this document? Do I want to import the comments? Do I want to merge it as a new document? Do I want to bring it in as a new thumbnail? So lots of different ways of treating it, but that's left into the decision of the document controller for that. All of that permission work is done right up here through project settings. When you click this, it's going to bring up a little dialog where you can go through by email address and set up what the permissions are for various users. So if you've got a group of field personnel that you just want to be able to have access to the documents and the hyperlinks, great. They can access that right through the permissions. And then you can have your document controller group who has full access to everything, who does manage all of those changes. So let's actually check out a document. I'm going to right-click and check it out. And you're going to see that all my hyperlinks, my markup tools become available there for me. And let's actually place another markup right down here. It's very similar to this. So I'm going to right-click and select these. I'm going to hold down Control and just click right off of it and just bring this right over here. And we're going to put this RFI right there. But I'm going to come in here and change this to, let's just call this RFI 104, for example. And we're going to hyperlink a new RFI to this. But just to show you exactly what's happening, I'm going to change the color on this just so we can have this stand out for us just a little bit better when we toggle back and forth between drawings. So I've got RFI 104 here, and I want to add in a hyperlink. So I'll come back up here to Markup and Hyperlink. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up RFI 104. Actually, you know what? I don't have an RFI 104. So let me just come in here and change this real quick. I'm going to change that to RFI 100 because we do have an RFI 100 that's closed. So I'm going to double-click and open up RFI 100, and then come back to my sheet set, select my hyperlink, drag and drop right there over RFI 100. And again, this is the same dialog we did previously. I'm going to jump to RFI 100 closed, just like that, because that's just the same 3 documents that are up here at the top. I'm going to use my relative paths. I'm going to select OK. And now when I hover over this and I click on it, it's going to source my RFI for me. So even if that's closed, all these other documents are closed, and I'm in the field, I tap on that with my finger and on my iPad, boom, I get my RFI, and I can see exactly what I need to see. Ah, that's right, these are the details regarding that stair. Okay, great, it's approved. Cool. So very quick access to your information very efficiently. Okay, so we've got our markup here. I'm actually going to right-click and check this document back in. Say, yes, I want to save it. And the comment I want to leave here at the check-in, I'll say, added RFI 100 with hyperlink. Just like that. I'm going to check it back in. So now that this document is checked back in, you'll see it's back to read-only status. So this is what's new in 11.5. That was all set up for this. This is really cool. This is called versioning. I can go back to any previous version that I've checked into the document. And to do that, I right-click on A201. I select Revision History. It's going to bring me a dialog. So with this nice little clock here. This clock is showing us that we've got our first version that was added in. We've got a second one that was checked in with RFI 103 that was closed. And then we have the current one, which is in bold, which is the one that we added RFI 100. Well, let's say we need to go back to a previous revision. Now, it's not here in my project. I don't see it. This is the latest version I have. I can simply select Open Revision, and that way I can view it and see if that's the one I want to use. Realize, okay, let me just back up here. Excuse me there. Close this here. I want to come over here and be like, yep, okay, that in fact, this is the one I want to use. If for some reason that RFI should not be included, I can come back to my revision history. And this is this one, the second option here. I want to restore that revision. It's going to take it and put it right at the top of the list. So it's going to become number 4. and then I can always go back to number 3 if I want, and you'll notice here that the comment here is restored from revision 2. So now we've got revisioning built into project. So that's actually pretty cool. For a free document management system, if you got full revisioning that lets you go back to any previous document, that's a nice little tool to be able to keep in your tool chest and use. Okay, that about wraps it up. I'm going to check in here with Aaron, see if we have any additional questions. But if you have any more questions as they come up, I know Ty is a great resource. We work with Ty a lot, so he's certainly available to be there to provide any of that information or support.
Wide open so far. I've answered a couple of questions that have come in, so feel free to keep typing them in there, or I'll just address them with Luke right on the phone.
Great. All right. Well, we have a couple little questions, and they're primarily oriented around training and what options are available. I want to show you, if you go right up here to help, right within Revu, you can select resources. This is going to open up the web tab I showed you previously, and it's going to take you to what's called the Bluebeam University. The Bluebeam University is a site that we've made on our website that's loaded with videos. They're everywhere from 30 seconds all the way through to an hour. They've got workflow videos and feature videos and different webinars. If you've got a certain workflow that you're looking at, we've got takeoff workflow, some of our oil and gas work processes or workflow, focusing on the markups list, you name it. There's all sorts of information here. If this is one of your first times with Revu, definitely start out with Revu 101 and work your way down through the extreme degrees. But it's a really great way to kind of build up some of that information. This is some more additional information on what's new in Revu 11 that can be covered, that's accessible there as well. Also, there's a question about trials for the Revu iPad app. We are unfortunately not able to issue trials of the app. The app is for purchase directly through the Apple iTunes App Store. So you need to go directly through Apple to pick up any of that app. Luckily, it is only a $10 app, so it's minimally priced for being able to use it and for all the things that it does offer with integration into Bluebeam Studio sessions and projects, plus all the measurement tools. Something new that was actually added in the latest version and release of the Revu iPad app, which is iPad 2.0, is the support of forms. So you can fill out forms with the Revu iPad app that have been created in Revu, or any other Acro form, for example. In addition, we've also added the measurement tools for being able to do length and area and perimeter right in the field with the Revu iPad app. So that's pretty cool to be able to calibrate the drawing and do some takeoffs in the field for some quick dimensioning. It's got a nice little feature there for being able to use what's called the loop feature, where you can zoom in and see the content on the drawing to get a real sharp calibration. But if that's it, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time. I know that you are all very busy and you have a lot of things going on. Please feel free to be in contact with Ty, forward any of your questions onto him, and we'd be more than happy to source that information for you. Thank you all again for coming, and have a great day.